All right, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy back once again with another video here with my man Staxx, and we are going to give you a pre-draft. Once again with another video. Oh, we're going to give you a pre-draft special, the last one before the draft. We wanted to do something a little bit different than we've done before, so we're going to kind of break down the adversaries' teams a little bit, and then we are going to go into the Ravens, how we feel that we are going to draft. They are going to draft. Now, we went through mock simulators. We did a couple and chose the best player that was available. Don't get mad. Don't get upset saying, hey, that's not what I wanted to choose. That's not who we wanted. But this is what was left of the bunch. Now, that's not to say that we did not break from the norm and go somewhere else. So let's get started. This is my man Staxx. Introduce yourself. Let them know what you got going on, sir.
Hendo, what's up, boss? Always a pleasure to be here. You can find me at BSS_Staxx on Twitter. Been funneling through the Raven spaces for the past 2 weeks. Met some great people in there. Had some great conversations. Just really just getting into the mind and of some of the people out here that have some draft backgrounds, some analytics peoples, and really just getting my feet wet on that perspective. But my raw sports talent should definitely take over at some point, because I feel like I got a grasp on the game. But it's just been a great couple weeks, man. I'm ready for Thursday, so this is definitely going to be a great lead up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's get all the little house cleaning out the way. If you look down below, you can sign up to my Patreon. Come in, have some fun, get into the Discord and some other little special things. But just check it out. Let me know what you think. If you also would like to help out, there is my Cash app that's down here at the bottom. Just click on it, scan it, help the show out, help us grow. All the money will be funneled back into the show to help make it better, to improve on some things, and maybe give out something special a little bit later. Now, let's see who we got in the house. Okay. I see we got Off the Record Podcast in here. My man Mike. Check them out if you don't know. Off the Record Podcast. Definitely some hot topics. Some things that go a little bit beyond sports. But check my man Mike and OTR out. I know, of course, we got the lunch break hot take crew in here. And like I told these brothers before, Jose and Bronny, without them, I would not be here right now. So if you could, check them out, subscribe. They also have a Ring Kings podcast. If you're into boxing, go over there, like and subscribe. Those are my guys, for real. My man Garnett's in the house. I see, I'm guessing this is one of your peoples.
Marlo, what's up, baby?
Welcome all. Listen, oh man, they starting already up in here. The one thing that I did not want to see. This is the one thing I did not want to see, bro.
Man, hey, we are fashion and conditions fan base, so things like that make sense to people. That's I can't argue with them. I won't argue with the pick, but we'll see.
I mean, listen, I know I got some support here. You know what I'm saying? My man B from LBHT. I know the rest of the fam in here, and no Jordan Davis, no matter what, bruh.
Like
as
day
they
movie.
said at draft day, that's where we got it from. Draft day, as they said in draft day, no matter what, do not take this dude. Do not take Brandon Williams 1.5. I can't do it. I can't do it, bruh. Jalen Murphy.
I can't give him that comp. Brandon Williams 2.0. He's way more explosive and way more athletic than Brandon Williams. And as much as you do with that you do not like Brandon Williams, and it's documented, Tony, we will not give 6'7", 4'8", 4'7", or 6'8", 4'7", 40 with the explosion of the no, we're not gonna give him that comp. But I understand where you coming from though. Brandon Williams is not it though. Let's not do it. Let's not do it because we're gonna be here for 20 minutes. Because I know how you feel about him.
No, but I'm just saying, everybody gets excited about a man in shorts. Like, but that we'll say that for a little bit later. Bruh, I appreciate you too. We got Mr. Jada6 in the house, LBHG crew, unite. I see my man Marcus Austin in here. What's going
Double
on,
A.
Marcus? What's going on, son? Steelers fans in the house.
That's my
Lord.
man. He 100% Steelers. I gotta respect that.
I mean, yeah, you gotta respect it. I mean, he's one of the ones that's actually polite and cool about it. And he tells the truth.
He
He don't
does.
make up
He
all that
does.
BS and talk about what happened in the past and all that other good stuff.
He does.
Yeah,
He
man. So, all right, so let's get started with this draft. And like I said,
does.
this is a culmination of an average of players that we've gone through many mock drafts. And we just took the average of the one that came up the most. It is not always going to be the player that you want, the player that you thought. Some of us, it's the player that we hope, but we shall see. Yeah, Marcus, here we go. Here we go. So we are going to start off with the Cleveland Browns.
The Super Bowl
And
champions already.
Super Bowl champions? No, sir. They're not the Super Bowl champions, sir. Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. But as we do
okay.
know, they picked up Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
That is dramatically going to improve this team because
Absolutely.
even with Baker Mayfield, they were a Super Bowl caliber team. They could have done better. I don't put it all on Baker because he's had some injuries. He's had many different coaches, but
Right.
bringing in Deshaun is going to amp them up, and they have Amari Cooper. So
Yep. Deshaun Watson definitely gives them something from a passing perspective that they haven't had, a different aspect to it. Not necessarily Deshaun Watson isn't Lamar Jackson by any long stretch, but he is more mobile and shifty. You can add another package to the pistol that you probably will see mesh point run plays from them with the two stud running backs that they do have with Hunt and Chubb. So definitely, although he does have the off the field issues, he's definitely an upgrade from what they have at Baker Mayfield for sure.
yeah, I mean, just all around, he is just a better athlete and in some eyes, a top 5 quarterback.
Right.
To me, some people are kind of pushing them down. I think they're a threat. Like, I think that they are really a threat. But let's jump into what I figured and what I mocked to them in my draft. Now, we've only done 4 picks. We're only doing 4 picks per team, and we may go into depth a little bit more when we get to Baltimore, but we're just doing 4 just for these teams. So my first pick in the second round, pick 44, I think that the Browns will select David Ojabo.
Woo.
I mean, he may be injured, but once
Mhm.
he gets healthy, like, he's a run stopper and he can rush the pass. Like, he is just a 6'5" athlete that they can afford to let him sit a year. Like, their defense is legit, especially depending on what they do with Clowney. They have some other things going on, but I just think that this would be something that the Browns might do because defense is not what they're lacking in.
Something with David Ojabo, a lot of people don't know, playing on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson too. He came in, and we'll call it just for giggles. We'll talk about they call it the NASCAR package, where he really came in on passing downs. He really doesn't have the mileage as your normal edge rusher in college, but from what coaches say, and he just has explosion off the edge. Great bend, able to use his hand, just raw pass rushing ability. And even with that injury, for a kid like this, his ceiling, you're willing to wait for an injury to subside in order to see what you have in him. And for them not having a first round pick, this would definitely be something optimal that I think they could do, especially replacing Clowney.
Well, that's if they don't bring him back, though.
Right.
He can still come back. So
I mean, how
that's
many
just
years has Clowney needed to been in contract talks? It's got to be like year 4 straight, right? I mean, this kid, he hasn't been signed since his draft year. It
since
seems like, man, he
pretty
always up
much
for a contract. Yeah. I
because
had a
nobody
different
believes in him.
guy. Yeah, I had a different guy. Ajabo wasn't there in my drafts. I had a Nick Bonito from Oklahoma, inside linebacker. I know that they have 26, and I don't want to mess his name up, but this kid can speed sideline to sideline. He comes to like Fred Warner to me. Very good in coverage. Definitely pulls up and brings it. And he had to cover because he was in the Big 12 too. Kind of undersized for our traditional linebacker size from what we've seen. But speed sideline to sideline and covering these athletic tight ends, I think that's something that we can see to add to what they already had at that second round pick.
So Marcus wants to know if they're going to spend. I mean, if you think about it, Marcus, they don't need him. He would be a
No.
luxury pick. He is a luxury pick. Like all they needed was a quarterback, essentially. So yeah, they can sit him for a year, and who's to say he can't come back for the playoff run if they make it? Like you never know. Like it's gonna. I mean, the same with what is it, Jameis Williams?
Right,
Do you
Jameson
not spend a
Williams.
draft? Do you not spend a draft pick on him because he was hurt? He's a talent. Like you have to store talent. Maybe not for this year, but for in the future.
And historically, those guys have worked out for the most part, with the exception of Bengals tackle that they drafted, I believe, 3 years ago. Should be coming to play this year. He sat out two first round pick. I can't remember his name, but he should be playing. And then you have other instances like the linebacker from Dallas that he took from Notre Dame a couple of years ago, who kind of phased out the league. There's been some players that it's worked out too. And once you get to $1 billion organization, they give you the best doctors in the world. So, anything's possible.
Facts. All right. So with the third round pick, the Cleveland Browns will select Perion Winfrey, a defensive lineman from Oklahoma. Once again, another luxury pick, somebody that can help Myles Garrett pressure the passer. I mean, once again, they don't need much on defense, except for possibly another corner to go with Ward. But for the most part, this is a luxury pick. They all they went all in on defense all these years, drafting high, but now it's time to get them in the playoffs. They have Deshaun Watson going, so they don't need much. This is just another luxury pick for them.
Definitely a depth pick for them. Cleveland, from what they've shown, is that they put the money where their mouth is on the offensive side, and they've built on the defense in the draft. So, interior lineman to help Myles Garrett, I ain't gonna argue with that.
All right. So for my third round pick, I had the Browns selecting tight end Jelani Wood. And I think because they lost Austin Hooper, they're going to need somebody to go alongside of Njoku, who I really don't have faith in. Like he's a big athletic dude, but he's hurt and he just doesn't show up during games. So I think that this 6'7" tight end from Virginia will give them something on the other side that they desperately need in the passing game.
I think with Njoku, something that I always felt as though, from an avid fantasy player, I felt as though that Cleveland does their best to take people out the game when they do well. And he has so many toys. He gave everybody, like, because they drafted a tight end in the second round that probably could have started on most teams in Bryant last year, 2 years ago, if
Right.
I'm not mistaken. And he's really, really good, really talented guy. And for 1 second, the Joker was asking to be traded, but you bring in Austin Hooper in free agency. It didn't really make much sense to me. But if this guy wants to do tight end by committee, I mean, hey, let's see if it works out. But definitely from a replacement perspective, Njoku can definitely block on the interior. In that run game, that offensive line has been really decent. So we'll see what happens. But they're definitely not limited in that space on that team at all.
Okay. Okay. And with their fourth round pick, I have them selecting Justin Ross, wide receiver from Clemson. Now, like I said, they brought in Amari Cooper, but they really don't have much. We're not sure what they're going to do with Jarvis Landry, if Odell Beckham Jr. is going to come back. This just gives them an insurance policy, a big body receiver who kind of shined in his freshman year, but hasn't done much since. But he's good enough to start for the Browns, so let him have it. Let him
If
have
you
it.
take a look at that wide receiver room, definitely bringing in Amari Cooper, bolsters that receiving core. What they lost with Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry was definitely a target funnel after a while. He really didn't have anything from a wide receiver perspective. Donovan Peoples-Jones is definitely a bigger. He's a fast guy, runs those seams, those in cuts for them, plays the X primarily for the most part. And then you got Higgins, if I believe, if he's still on
He
the
went to he
roster
went to
too.
he went to Carolina.
So he went to Carolina. So they
He went
definitely
to
have
Carolina.
some holes there then, that they probably need to fill at the receiver position. So I don't think that's too far fetched that they take a wide receiver at that spot.
All right. So you did the draft for Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. They have the most capital in the world because they won the Super Bowl. They picking 31st, and they got a ton of cap space. So, again, one of these teams that have definitely built in the draft over the past few years, have had some real good hits in the first and second round. Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, of course, Joe Burrow. Some defensive guys that they picked up also. Jesse Bates, the safety, he's been really, really decent. And they've actually picked up, from what I've been looking at, some guys on the team that may have faltered on other teams, but were high draft picks and had a lot of talent. And they funneled them into their organization, and they kind of put some like stitching together and really put together a really good squad. Of course, we all know what happened at the end of the season, but nobody expected them to be in that type of
Mm,
that type of output. So first thing I picked a tackle at 31, Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan. Kid is big, got good hands. I thought that he was a little bit slow off the edge, a little bit, kind of got beat up by those little guys who were rushing him some, but definitely had a talent. And at 31, he would be a steal. I think that, anything within their offensive line woes were definitely documented in the playoffs, and they still managed to overcome. But of course, we all remember that last play in the Super Bowl when Aaron Donald popped through and broke the game up to win it all. So I think they definitely got to do what they have to do to protect Joe Burrow. And I think that Raymond would be somebody definitely that they could take at that spot, 31.
almost
Sec,
definitely.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Uh, Second, I had Brian Asamoah again. I know I said Nick Benito before, but I meant Brian Asamoah, the linebacker. I don't necessarily like what Cincinnati has from a linebacker perspective. I know that they picked up some guys and just put them in play, and they kind of just picked up the guy. 51 was really decent. I can't, excuse me, think of his name, but I think back and forth, Brian Asamoah, man. I mean, the kid got sideline to sideline speed, and he covers. Um, he covers. And I think when you talk about playing in the AFC North, you want a guy who can come up and run stop. I mean, the kid is very violent on his hits, and he does not necessarily he blitzes well. And like I said, playing in the Big 12 where they pass a lot in that league, you saw the kid in coverage. And he was a willing blitzer and a willing pass cover. But what I saw that really flashed for me is that he's not that big, but he really brings the pain on some of those tackles. So I think that he could be a really good fit for them as a second round pick.
Yeah, we'll see him again. We'll see him again. Somewhere later down the line, we're gonna see him again.
Oh, right,
So
right,
I'm
right. I mean,
I'm gonna hold it for him. I'm gonna hold my response for that guy because I got
okay.
him somewhere else.
I mean, I think the kid flashes to you, really does. He definitely popped
Oh,
off
no doubt.
for what I see. And Fred Warner comp is what I saw. And I won't say what I'm going to say either, but we'll go to the next one. Let's just keep it moving.
Yeah, I got him replacing royalty. I'm just
Okay,
gonna say that
okay.
he's gonna replace royalty.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
gonna blow the world up. That's gonna blow the world up.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right. So your next
next
pick.
pick. Next pick. I got a Kellen Deesh from Arizona State, and he's a raw tackle talent. Again, they definitely need some help on the offensive line. And this kid is really, really big, 6'7", 3, whatever you want him to be. Struggled with some, but like I said, really big, really decent feet. Kind of grab you on the inside when he taking those kick steps, and he got fast edge rushes getting around him. But from a run blocking perspective, if you put him on the right side, if you have to for tackle depth on that team, I mean, they know they want to run the ball with Joe Mixon. It definitely makes some sense. And again, this is a depth pick. This kid is not probably going to start day one unless something really happens. But when you talk about Joe Burrow protecting this guy, you want to have as much as you want as you can on that offensive line for in order to protect them so they can move forward. And Joe Mixon is definitely a star talent. I'm thinking that they're going to utilize him a lot more out of the backfield, throwing the ball to him. Maybe get 5 to 6 catches a game. So I think that that's something that this guy can really fit in well. They move him to the right side. So that's what I was going through with that.
All right.
And last but not least, this has been my whole thing. You got to protect Joe Burrow, right? Joshua Williams from UNC, center, right down in the middle. I mean, protect nine, right? We talk about depth. They really got beat up in the playoffs last year. Really got beat up in the playoffs last year. Now, of course, if they would have lost the game, it would have definitely been well documented. But we talk about between the Chiefs game and the Titans game, somewhere upwards of 13 to 14 sacks on your star player, and you got to keep Joe Burrow upright. In order for them to those guys to be successful. But from what they had from a wide receiver perspective, they were able to scheme guys open and do some different things to back the lineup off. But they did run block very, very well, open up holes for Joe Mixon. Yeah, but from a pass blocking perspective, I think that's something that they really, really, really need to get under to get in play before next season goes on, because you got to keep nine upright in order to win games.
What a novel idea. Keep your quarterback upright. Where have I heard that before? Why would a team want to do that? Tell me, man. Why would a team want to protect their quarterback? I don't know.
Oh man!
Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me.
What's so crazy about that situation is that you talk to some Ravens fans and they talk about the offensive scheme and how we need to change things up and how Greg Roman with the play calling and everything. It's very, very hard to be successful in the NFL without having a solid enough offensive line. I mean, if you really take a look at some of these schemes defensively that these teams ran against us last year because our O line was so bad, you talk about engage eight type of stuff. If you got some Madden players out there, double A gap blitz with sticks coverage over top, 3-man coverage over top with a double A gap. But do you know how disrespectful it is to run a double A gap blitz on an NFL football team? To just send the same blitz. If you take a look at that safety that they drafted from Miami last year and how many times his 8 was pinned to I-8 quarterback because he just kept coming off the edge wide open. I mean, like, it was just well documented about our woes on the offensive line. So, I mean, if you want to win games, you got to be able to protect your quarterback. And I definitely feel as though that's one of our priorities. I just don't think that I'll save that for later, T. Let's get on to the next team. We'll say that
All right,
for
so
later.
the next team that we have up is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And for once in a long, long time, we do not have to worry about Ben Roethlisberger. We don't have to worry about Ben. We only got to worry about Tricky Mitch and maybe Baker Mayfield, because that's the destination that he said he wants to go in. Now, it doesn't make a difference because whatever happens, Mike Tomlin's going to win. Like, he's proven since he's got there, he has had no winning seasons. He doesn't use injuries or anything as an excuse. He's a winner, point blank, period. So I think that they can get the most out of Mitch, Baker, whomever they have on the roster. RIP to my man up there, Dwayne Haskins, but they're going to do what they need to do. Now, I personally feel like they need some O-line help. They could have drafted a quarterback, but from all the mocks that I did, there was none available, quite honestly. Like, all the ones that they had were gone within the first 7 picks. So I did not go with a quarterback for Pittsburgh in the first round. Now, this is going to make some Ravens fans mad because what I did go with is Tyler Linderbaum. Yes. Pittsburgh needs that offensive line help. Like, they need that offensive line help. So they're getting the best center in the draft. I don't care what people say about his weight, his height. He is the best offensive lineman in the draft, in my opinion, personally. He has a wrestling background, so he knows leverage. And the same thing probably was said about Marshall Yonder coming out. Too small, light, whatever. We see he's a Hall of Fame type guard. Now, I know center is a different type position, but that is the pick that I have going forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first round.
It would not be a shock if Pittsburgh took a Nick was good, bro. Little bro. Would not be shocked if they took a center in the first round. It's something that they've definitely done in the past with the Pouncey brother, and his His wins against us are well documented also. But with Tyler Linderbaum, Iowa is just you talk about linebacker, you being Penn State. Well, if you want an offensive lineman that's high quality coming out of college, Iowa, they just must they got the biggest. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever you want to say, but Iowa's a school to get an offensive lineman. We're gonna put one in the Ring of Honor and Marshall Yonder coming up shortly, and there are other ones that have been really, really good. Brandon Scherf just got a boatload of money in the contract. He's from Iowa also. So I actually had a few mock drafts here, and it would surprise you. It was quarterbacks left on the board. You had Howell from UNC, you had Kenny Pickett, and you had the backup quarterback. It was another one, but I won't get into that. But I think, and I'm going to throw this out there also, I find it really hard for the Pittsburgh organization to let another Pitt quarterback from college slip through after what happened the last time with the Pitt quarterback. That was possibly one of the best prospects out there that they went past and they took another player. I don't think that they let Kenny Pickett get by them based off of that. And I think Kenny Pickett would be a decent fit for them from a quarterback perspective, and getting him at 20 instead of reaching for him at the stars. If he was to fall there at 20, he fits a need, and we already cracking on Tricky Mitch, but to bring that guy in, who he's had some proven games, throws with gloves on. He has his quirks about him. The kid is a decent athlete. We all saw the fake slide play. But I think if he's sitting there at 20, I don't think that um, that Pittsburgh rolls past another Pitt quarterback this go round.
Really? So you have no problem with the size of his hands?
The size of your hands, if the guy can throw the ball, he can throw the ball. Now, I'm not going to get into all of that, but,
Now, logically, you and I can discuss that. But let's talk about these NFL scouts, GMs, these pro personnel people. They care about that stuff, the length of the arms. That's why we are talking about Lindenbaum at pick 20 instead of pick 14.
right.
But that is what it is, bro. So,
Right.
second round pick. I also think that they're going with offensive line help because with Zach Banner being gone, they need depth at the tackle. They need
Yep.
another one of these big guys that can help move that line because they've had some injuries. They let Alejandro Villanueva go. They just need big people up front, and they can't have Tricky Mitch being up there being pressured. He needs time in the pocket. The dude Lucas is a big cat. Like he can protect. He played over there in Washington. I'm not really big on people on the left coast, but he was a decent tackle. I think he will hold up well for them because he's not projected to be a starter. He's just going to be a backup and a depth piece for that team.
Definitely, yeah. And when you talk about what they have at running back and Najee Harris, the kid is lights out. Definitely a target funnel. Caught the ball a lot out the backfield. Had some really gaudy games. Still rushed for 1,200 yards on said bad offensive line last year. So the kid really does have some talent. And with the Ben Roethlisberger struggling to get the ball down the field, they threw the ball really quickly, which is why you saw Deontay Johnson with some of the bloated stats that he had, not necessarily bloated, because I think that kid is one of the best dynamic wide receivers in football that nobody knows about. He definitely gets separation. He cut us up when it mattered at the end of the game last year on fourth down. So I think that he's definitely a prospect. I don't think he gets paid, but when you talk about what they've invested in picks, especially for Najee Harris, he looks like he's going to be a focal point of the offense this year with Mitch Trubisky. So you definitely want to show up that O-line to get that kid some lanes.
No doubt. Now, I kind of went back and forth on this third round pick because with them losing Juju Smith and James Washington, I felt like Pittsburgh might need a wide receiver, but they make do with what they had. They are a wide receiver factory. I don't care what round they draft people in, they somehow turn them dudes into superstars. So with the third round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I had them selecting cornerback Marcus Jones out of Houston.
Okay.
We don't know what's going on with Joe Hayden. Aside from Minka Fitzpatrick, their defensive backfield isn't anything to write home about. They lost Hilton Cincinnati the year prior, so they need some kind of depth in the backfield with the Steelers.
Mike Hilton definitely was a big loss for them. Made a play in the playoff game. Got an interception, and Minka Fitzpatrick is, if not the best safety in football, especially last year. Made some plays, able to play that zone under scheme that they just utilized him all over the field. He was dropping 10 yards deep in coverage and covering the whole middle of the field by himself. Essentially, people just weren't doing that. Marcus, I see you, babe. They picked up Miles Boykin. And what's wild about
They
the Miles
straight.
Boykin
They
pickup,
straight.
the anger from the fan base about Miles Boykin is just, and I try to be balanced about it. I try not to be too subjective to what's really going on, but I really think that was a reach for depth, in my opinion. I think that they
Mhm.
do go wide receiver somewhere in the draft. I had him taking that Phillips from UCLA, really shifty guy, able to get open, ran a lot of in cuts, seam routes, was able to get over the top, had some kick return juice also from UCLA. And I think that kid can make some sense for them also. Was able to get open in coverage across the middle of the field, primarily played the X. And I feel as though if they were going to invest in James Washington, they would have done it all now. So I think that they may take a receiver, but corner makes some sense too because hey, you got to see Amari Cooper, you got to see Hollywood Brown, you got to see Bateman, you got to see Jamar Chase, and you got to see T Higgins. So that makes some sense. But I thought the Miles Boykin thing was just to just get back at us. But I think that nothing happens with that,
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
just gonna leave it where it is.
Yeah, but I mean, most definitely they are going to take a wide receiver. But as
Right.
they've proven, just like we proved with defensive players in the
Hmm.
later rounds, we can find
Hmm.
those gems. We find
Right.
them gems. So I just don't think that they're going to go up in the first 3 rounds and pick a wide receiver. Maybe 4 on down, but
Hmm.
we'll see. So with that being said, in the 4th round, I have the Steelers picking uh Chigzim Okonkwo, the tight end from Maryland. Now
Ooh.
he's not going to be in for blocking purposes. Like
No
he's not
sir.
that
No
good of a
sir.
blocker.
No
He's a
sir.
little bit undersized at 6'2", but as far as these receiving tight ends go, you put him on side opposite Fryermuth. You draft you a 6th round wide receiver that you're turning to somebody else, and I think he can do some things. Plus, the Pittsburgh Steelers love drafting from Maryland for some reason. It's just Pittsburgh is just a pipeline. I don't know why, because they don't always seem to turn out that well. But that's
well,
the
they
that's
made.
just seems to be the
Hey,
pick.
they made Darius Hayward Bay a guy after he had faltered in the Raiders, and he showed up against us every 2 weeks. So it seemed like it. But Kongwu is definitely somebody who has some talent. I don't see him as a regular inline tight end. And from what the Steelers showed us last year, they primarily came out in 31 personnel. And they had a lot of three wide with one running back and in a shotgun stuff like that. But this kid, if you see him as like the type for something like what you see Dolphins doing with Mike Gesicki and their tight ends, how he comes out on the playing that offset tight end, playing in the stand up position and still running his routes there. But this kid is an athlete, and he definitely shows some pop over the middle. Catching the passes, high pointing balls in the end zone, and he really really popped from Maryland. He was a good player for them last year. So I could definitely see that too. They just lost Eric Ebron. I think Frymuth is a really good player also. I think that he's going to take a step forward too. But they've shown to always have 2 to 3 tight ends on the field, and everybody's able to play when they're called upon. So I could definitely see that. And we know, Tricky Mitch is going to do what he's going to do, but we'll find out. The tight end is the quarterback's best friend when they struggle.
Facts, 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 facts. Now it's time to get to that time of the show that most of the people have been waiting for.
Let me put my glasses on, tease. I got some notes for you. Put my glasses on.
Oh Lord,
I got some
oh
glasses.
Lord.
I got my notes. I got my notes, T. I got my notes.
Don't forget Stephon Diggs. They missed out on him too.
That's true. Taylor's using 2 tight end sets. Interesting. And DJ Moore, who went to Maryland, and turned out fantastic. Yeah, DJ Moore should have been in purple, but we're not going to go there either. So should have Calvin Ridley and a whole other myriad of wide receivers that season. But we're not going
Bro,
to
we
go
got
there.
hate. We got hate. We got Hayden Hurst, man. What are you talking about? What's wrong with you? You
You
know
mean we got two?
EDC
We got a
and
compensate. We
EDC
got a
be trash.
compensatory pick. We got a compensatory pick, and whatever we got, that's what we had. That's what we have now. or whoever that is ended up
Man,
being.
in EDC we trust. We trust in EDC. He is, according to the report, a top 15, and it wasn't 1 through 14 GM in the league out of
Oh
22. So
man.
out of 22 GMs, he came in at 15.
And this is a
That's
great
your man.
segue into the Ravens draft because, as has been stated before, Eric DeCosta has had his struggles as a draftee, general manager and drafting people. And I know the last time we spoke, we ran through a couple of people who we felt as though were hits from Eric DeCosta. And I think that this year, with the team being um, being in a position where it could be boom or bust with these guys coming off of injuries and such. I think that ultimately what I've been preaching is we need the guy. And if we don't get the guy, then the team will be exactly what it is or what it has been over the past few years. And I think that we're in a prime position to get that one right that makes an immediate impact and pushes us to the level where we can win the Super Bowl because that's what the fan base wants. And nobody will be happy until we get there. So let's see what happens.
All right. So you go ahead with your picks for the Ravens.
Okay. So, and it's going to come with a price because what I see is what I see from the Ravens perspective when we talk about what we're drafting and the draft position. I see two different scenarios, and as you stated before, we go with the chalk type of scenario right now. We're just doing mock drafts. We're not going to do any trades. At 14, the type of value that you can get there, if I feel as though we're going to draft someone at 14, again, as previously stated, immediate impact, right? Immediate impact. Somebody that gets on the field, that produces well, a possible Pro Bowl, if not Rookie of the Year type caliber player. And I feel as though that the Sauce Gardners, the Stingleys, the Kayvon Thibodeaux, the tackles that are going to be there, everybody that makes sense at 14 will be gone. And I feel like that the Jets are going to take a corner. I feel like the Giants are going to take the corner. I feel like that the bad teams at the top are either going to go lineman or wide receiver. And I honestly feel as though that the piece that's missing that makes sense at 14, if those guys are there, if we're going to draft at 14, is a wide out. And so I had a few different scenarios, and I really wish it would have worked the way that I wanted to work so I could have that conversation. But after doing 20 different mock drafts, the most average receiver that dropped to me was Drake London from USC as my first pick for the Baltimore Ravens, a big body guy. To me, he struggles with separation a little bit. He has trouble getting open, but it's kind of a situation where you can't tell a bee that he can't fly, right? But this kid is like he's tall. He's lanky. He attacks the ball in the air. I mean, they were throwing the ball out of the backfield on hitches and screens as if he was a 6 foot shifty guy, and he was still making plays. And he has the confidence that goes through the roof. So as a natural X receiver, which he's going to be on our team if he was to come, I think he would make some sense, especially since we're going to be running the ball again. He's going to be blocking in line, and I think that the kid has an edge and something to prove. And I honestly think, like I said, man, if these guys are not going to be there, these guys that we know we want, because we've been conditioned as Ravens fans to draft defense when they're there, wide receiver will be the play to me. And let's invest in Lamar Jackson and let's get him somebody, somebody there that's going to work. Because honestly, T, I'm not going to lie, man, Wilson is the guy that I want. And if he's there at 14, I say we snatch him up.
So you put this very eloquently as your reasonings for picking up Drake London. Now, when I did my mock drafts, there were some people out there, and I'm not going to lie. George Karlaftis, your boy Davis was out there. It was some people that we've been clamoring for was there, but I did not take them because I don't feel that they fit. Now, if Tyler Lindenbaum is a reach at 14, why isn't Jordan Davis a reach at 14? So I went wide receiver as well. I went Chris Olave because Garrett Wilson was already gone.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Drake London was gone in a couple of them, but I just kept it consistent and I went with Olave. I just felt like he would be the best fit for us as far as the speed merchant. He has a little size to him. He's a home run threat. And depending on what's going to happen with Hollywood going forward, he can just step up and take his place at a cheaper price than it would be to get a Deebo Samuel because we already know he costs too much. We don't pay for offense. So
Never have, never will, most likely. And again, people love Olave, people love Wilson. I definitely going to see what we're going to be, where we can go back and forth with that. They're not the same at all. They play two totally different positions in college, two totally different roles. Olave is more smooth. Wilson is more sudden in his movements. So we'll get into that a little later. But I want to keep rolling with the draft, T. So what you got in round two?
what do I have in round two?
What do you
I
have in
in round
round two?
so in round two, I took a tackle. Like I
Okay,
took a
okay,
tackle. I t-
okay,
I took who did I take? I took Tyler Smith, the
okay.
tackle from Tulsa. Now I know we have a couple of the people high in the draft for the offensive line, and I really wanted Charles Cross. Like he was one of the
Hmm.
ones I really wanted. But as far as big plays by tackles, if you can have those, he led college football. Like he may not get the recognition of everybody else, but he led college football, and to pick him up in the second round at tackle, it'll be a blessing. Like it'll be like somebody was like, "Look, Lamar, we trying to keep you. We don't know what's going on with your boy Stanley. Juwan James hasn't been healthy in 16 years, and we're banking on him. Morgan Moses. I mean, the Jets let him go. So what does that say? So that was my second round pick for the Baltimore Ravens.
I definitely like the tackle there, especially with Tyler Smith. And it's not like he doesn't play in an offense that doesn't throw the ball 50 times a game because Tulsa lets it, they add out. So the kid's always in pass blocking for what I've seen on tape. But he's very, very agile and he moves very well. That kick step for him to be so big, he definitely kick step. And, he can get around those guys. He protects very well on that left side. So if they were to go there, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Facts.
And I mean, so I saw a question that jumped out is how does Lamar go and get it the ball to Drake London without any old lineman? And I answered that question also. So I'm with you, Jay. I feel the same way. I think that my thought process is not necessarily to the fact that I think that we shouldn't take any offensive linemen. It's just about placement in the draft. When you talk about drafting somebody at 14 to reach at an old lineman like a center, is really not going to help Lamar from an offensive line perspective. I think that if one of the tackles that are the top three aren't there, we're definitely not going to reach for Penning at 14. That doesn't make any sense. So I think that we're just talking about value at that position. If the best player on the board is an offensive weapon, you've already seen it worked out. And I'm just saying, the NFL is a copycat league, but Cincinnati needed an offensive lineman at 5 last year, and they took Jamar Chase and look to see how that worked out. It's
My
been
man.
other guys also that's in the draft and other teams also. When the Vikings took Justin Jefferson, they needed an offensive lineman that year, and that year Kirk Cousins threw the ball a ton, but he got sacked a lot in that season when Justin Jefferson went off and had all those yards. So I mean, you got to have offense, man. We got to keep up with some of these teams. The AFC is loaded, so like I said, it's all about positional value at that pick and who's there. Ultimately, T, I'll get to that at the end, but that's where I'm going with that.
Oh, okay. So what was your second round pick?
My second round pick, man, and I'm staying pretty consistent. Like Nick Bonito is, edge rusher galore to me. If we don't can't get those top guys, to me, him playing in the Big 12, I thought that he was really, really, really physical at the point of attack. They did a lot with him. He played some minimal in coverage. And another thing that I stated in the Ravens Twitter the other day, while I was in the spaces, man, is that we really don't have an idea of what defense we're really going to run. We got an idea what Brandon McDonald did at Michigan, and plus his two bookends will probably be first round picks. If we do something like that, then we're going to need a guy that's going to get up the field. It's going to be something different from what we've seen. He usually plays a lot of man coverage on the outside zone with his linebackers. It's like a hybrid 3-4 type of scheme. So those bookends and those middle interior linemen are really going to have to fight with the O line to get up the field, and we're going to drop back and dare people to throw against us and feel light with our linebackers. So I really like Nick Bonito. I think that he hits the edge. He's really violent with his hands. He's pretty athletic at the point of attack, and I think he can bend well and get under some of these guys. And he looks coachable, so he really made sense to me from Oklahoma.
All right. So I think that we both had the same third round pick for the Ravens. And that would be Brian Asamoah.
I
Now,
mean,
Ravens fans, y'all should love this pick. He was a former running back. And you know
yes,
how we like to take people that played other positions and switched
yes,
over and try to make them something else. But this
yes.
guy is a little bit different. He has production. He was a leader at Oklahoma, so he can actually come in and take over for Patrick Queen and wear that green dot with confidence. Like we have somebody that can actually play and not a project. Like he's not coming out with a bunch of questions like Patrick Queen did in his 1 year of starting. Now, people forget Patrick Queen wasn't even a starter at the beginning of the year for LSU. But we went and decided we're going to take him in the first round anyway. And we see how that turned out. So yes, I agree with you that I do think that our third pick should be him.
I think that Asamoah is a steal, especially if we were to get him in the third round. I honestly think the kid goes before then in the second round. And we just talking about the thing that popped for me was the inline, sideline, to sideline speed, his ability to cover
Most definitely.
and get to the outside. For what we have on the field right now, we've already moved Queen to that outside linebacker position. This kid can fill in the mic. He wasn't afraid of coverage, drop back on tight ends and even on wide receivers. Plays some man, and like you said, he's a former running back. He's an athlete. The kid just popped, and he gave me the best comp that I could give him. A compliment was Fred Warner. Fred Warner went to BYU. That's not anything that they're not linebackers, a university at all. But the kid was just an athlete, and this
What's
kid
going
can
on?
get back and forth on the sideline, man. And I really saw a lot of flashes with him, and I think he's going to be a great NFL pro. And he got that ticker. And when you talk about hitting somebody, man, the kid was flying around. He was throwing his body around, and he looked like he loved the contact, and he was about all that rack. So if you hear me, EDC, if this kid is available, let's take him and let's put him in purple.
I need you to reiterate what you said about sideline to sideline.
So
We don't we
sideline to
don't have
sideline
we
speed.
don't have too many players.
No, no. Queen is pretty quick. He's fast enough. We've seen him miss some tackles and over pursue stuff. But when you talk about from a coverage perspective, right, we turn into a passing league. We talk about the movement that you want your linebackers to be able to have when we talk about covering some of these wide receivers that are in the slot that's coming across in zone coverage and stuff like that. Or when you get in these sweep plays, these gadget plays, these
What's
Deebo-like
going on,
plays
E?
that we've seen, you want a linebacker that can cover from sideline to sideline, somebody that's going to get out there, force the ball back inside so that somebody else can make a play. And this kid just flashed. I mean, every time it seemed like somebody was trying to get to the outside against Oklahoma, you saw this kid and you seen him popped up, banging on his chest, and the team rallying around him because he was making the play. So I really think that he would be a great fit for us from that perspective.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to your fourth pick because
Okay, okay.
for some reason, Chris, you disappoint me so much. Like you my man and all, but you disappoint me so much sometimes, bruh. I know you know your stuff, and I know you got some things with you, but you just, bruh, really, three defensive players in a row,
Three
three in a
defensive
row.
players in a row. Do you know what division we're playing in, T? Do you know the quarterbacks that we have to go up? Our edge rushing, see, our edge rushing woes have been. I mean, let's call it. We were last in the league in total sacks. We were last in the league in pressures. We were second last in the league in tackles for loss last year. We really struggled from a defensive line perspective, which is why people want Jordan Davis to show up that middle of the line. They want somebody that can pressurize the middle so we can get up the field. Again, we don't know what our defense is going to look like. We have an idea. Like I said, they run a hybrid 3-4 at Michigan, so it's something similar to us, but we won't be blitzing as nearly as much as we had before. So we'll need some of these edge rushers. And I mean, this kid, he's a big kid. He's tall. He's about 6'6". He doesn't really have the speed to get around the edge, but from a bull rush perspective, and at the third round pick,
Fact.
we're going to rush. He can push the front line. Even if we still stay with that scheme where we hold the outside edge
Yeah.
and we see what's going on and then send somebody up there. But two edge rushes in the defense and a linebacker would make the most sense to me, especially if we were, which I don't think we will, but if we were to get a wide receiver, then I think that we would have to make up for that on the back end with some really, really good defensive talent. and coming up after the third round, it really gets funky with the Ravens. And that's another reason why I feel like that it's time to show and prove too, because of some of the draft capital that we have. But if it's not offensive tackle, if it's not a guy that's there, that's a reach, that's not a steal or something like that, it should definitely be defensive edge rushers and linebackers for sure.
So I got a question for you.
Yes.
Question. I know you know sports, and I know that you know sports history.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, statistically it can be proven, but I want your personal opinion. Do you think that the Buffalo Bills are a high-powered offense?
It all depends on what you see it from. So
Yeah,
for me,
yes or no, Chris. Yes or no, Chris. Let's not get
do I think the
analytical. Just yes
Buffalo
or no.
Bills? Yes, I do.
All right. So 2 years ago in the playoffs, with the defense that we had, what did we hold them to? 10 points?
Yes.
And what was our problem? We couldn't score.
Yes.
So once again, you want to go defense. Even though it's an offensive league now, you still want to go defense.
I think that when you talk about putting together a package, right? And you talk about putting together an offensive package as somebody that, because we've never had that player outside of a running back that the defenses were really scared of, right? Like we have Andrews, but you can still scheme against the tight end. I think that from that perspective, if you're talking about lining up and people actually coming to us and say, okay, now we got 4 guys, because Bateman is going to be it this year. And if you don't think so, turn on the tape of Miami, watch the all 22 cam, and watch this kid kill one-on-one coverage, which is what he's mostly going to get in our offense. He's going to smoke that, and it's going to be crazy next year. I'm thinking 12 to 1,300 yards.
You see that? You see this comment right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, read it. Hey, look at that.
He said they just drafted first round middle linebacker and edge too, but here we stand, those are needs. Yes, they're needs because of the misses that we had, the well documented misses. Now, also, in the type of defense that we had, Owe would come out, make a play, and then Wink could take him out. And then you see Houston, and then you see Matabike. We had to move Patrick Queen to the outside to take care to utilize some of his ability too. Because he had some speed, but he over pursued, and he's a first round pick. The kid should have came in. He should have been ready to play. T, you've argued that down to the T, and I know it's understandable, and I get what you're saying. But from an offensive perspective, if we're going to keep up with some of these teams in our division in this AFC, we're going to need some more weapons for Lamar. He's coming up for contract. We need to make it palatable for him to stay. And if we're not going to pay Hollywood Brown long term, we talked about it the last time we spoke, bro. His value is anywhere between 20 and 25 million based off of his offensive output. If he puts that type of season up again, I don't think that we invest that in him. So getting a wide receiver with that type of talent makes sense. A guy that we can come in first from a first round. Always still.
Oh, I'm not. No, B. I'm not trading him to you. I'm not trading Bateman. Like he is a first. He's gonna get 1,400 yards, like 12 touchdowns. No, I'm keeping him unless you make me a better offer. I need like a first round or something.
You must got him in the keeper league, huh, T?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we do.
Okay.
So over at LBHT, they have a Patreon, and we have a Dynasty League. So, if you sign up for that Patreon, they're doing a second league, and anybody can get into it. Like, just go over there, subscribe, sign up for the Patreon. Do it for me, do it for OTR. All of us help support everybody.
T, I dibble a little bit in the DFS world, DraftKings, FanDuel. I do a little something of that. So if anybody out there needs some questions about that, I got a whole rundown about where we can go with that. But I think that this kid is going to be dynamite this year. And, when we get our running backs back, we have TE2 Nick Bull as the great season option. Nick Bull in this offense is strictly a blocking tight end, and that's what we paid him for. And if you take a look at some of I know Brian Baldinger did a breakdown of Nick Boyle and his impact on the run game and where we missed him 2 years ago. Like I said, we had to go with what we had. And Nick Boyle definitely got paid because he's a great athletic blocker, and he was definitely that missing link with us from our run game when he got hurt. Very valuable to us. Kind of like when Tristan Thompson got that max deal from Cleveland. He was more valuable to them than he was to the rest of the league. So
Right. So you see what I picked for my 4th round pick.
no, I see your first round pick for
I'm
Pittsburgh. I'll
sorry.
see 4th round
My
pick.
bad. Oh, my bad. I hit the wrong one. It's still in that same line, bro. I'm sorry. Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
So this is how we're going to get Bateman the ball. We're going to protect Lamar. We're going to have to, because McCurry he's not that center. We need him as a backup to back up everybody on the offensive line. He is not a starter. So you go defense, I go offensive line, because we need to protect our best player. We need to protect our asset, because even with injuries, what did Lamar do? What did Lamar do with a hurt defense? He led us to the number 1 seed in the conference. So all of that defense, nah, son, it doesn't go like that for me.
Well, see, we don't get past the 4th round, right?
My man, I
And
didn't see it, but thank you, Noah.
we don't get past the 4th round. But I don't know if Ravens fans have been paying attention, but we have 5 4th-round picks in this draft. 5 4th-round picks in one draft. 5. Okay.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I'm thinking that when I was taking that 3rd-round guy in that defense, I'm thinking that two parts, T. If we draft 5 players in the 4th round, I'm gonna break the TV. Number one, because I do not believe that we need 10 players out of this draft. I do not think that we need to put that type of capital into our team. I think that we should use those for those compensatory picks that we have. I think that we should put some packages together. I think that it makes sense to maybe get, if we can, best case scenario, get 1-1, 2-2s, 2-3s, 1-4, and start to trade up other places in order to get better capital from that perspective. I don't think that it's feasible for us to draft 5 players in the 4th round. I would be really shocked if we did that. Although the Ravens love their draft picks, that's why we were one of the few teams that always get compensatory draft picks or find a way to get them. I just hope as a fan that we don't draft 5 players in the 4th round. But in these mock drafts that I've been doing, that's been chalk. I have a lot more offensive line depth, and a lot of it were hits. Like I was getting A+ grades on most of them because of where you were taking them with value, and you can get us some offensive line depth there. So we're not going to go into that, but best believe after the fact, I want to go edge rusher because we got to go get some of these quarterbacks. But we got to get rid of those 5. There's no way for us to get five players in 4.
What did I tell you last night? I told you your GM needs as many at-bats as possible. Swing and a miss. Like, your man needs as many chances as possible. That's why he loves compensatory picks, because he needs to keep bringing people in, because he doesn't know how to draft. What, man? Come on, you already know this is a prove it year for Eric DeCosta. Like, this is it for him.
I agree.
He's either gonna make this team or break this team. And by drafting defense, you're also sending a message to Lamar, like, bro, we don't care about your health going forward. You go out there and we're gonna use you up, just like San Francisco's gonna use up Deebo Samuel, and they're gonna go somewhere else.
San Francisco will be on the longest line of if they trade Deebo Samuel. It will be the worst thing in the world. It will be the worst move. It would be worse than DeAndre Hopkins for whatever they got.
David Johnson.
It would be worse than that. It would be the worst move ever. He is that franchise. And I think it's all BS too. I think it's equivalent to the Aaron Rodgers saga, just to give him something to talk about leading up to the draft so people can tune in. Right. I think that it's absolute poppycock, and I don't believe that it's any credence to it. I just think it's great for TV. But Deebo Samuel is a once-in-a-generational talent, and if anybody thinks anything otherwise, if the San Francisco 49er thinks anything otherwise, then please send the best player that you've had in the last 20 years on the offense to someone else and make somebody believe that it was the right move.
You see that comment right there? We have Iman Marshall, bro. What do we need to draft defense for? We have James Prochet and Tylan Wallace on defense. All they need is a chance. That's all they need is a chance. Since Prochet and Wallace and Duvernay, all they need is a chance, and we don't need wide receivers, why does this not translate over to the defensive side? We have people. Just give them a shot.
I agree. I also think that those guys play a role on the team, and we need positional players at wide
Facts.
receiver also. And like I said, and then we spoke about it before. If the Ravens decided to bring in a veteran wide receiver and to play the X, it would make some sense to me. Because I just feel like that we need to fit that need. Like, we don't have that traditional guy. And you want Bateman to have the one-on-one coverage on the outside, so we need that other guy. I think, and I don't think that guy's on the roster just yet. You don't want to kill Andrews. I know we paid him, but you don't want to kill him. But teams can scheme to take him away. And best believe he just had his first All Pro season. They know he coming, so we need somebody else to set us apart, along with the running backs that are coming back now. Offensive line is definitely something that we have. Like, we have some pieces there. I don't know how the organization feels about Jawan James, Ronnie Stanley. We know how we would like to feel about him. I'm hoping that the guy comes back 100% healthy. Maybe that drives our draft in a certain direction if they're really healthy or not. I know
Mhm.
we got somebody. OTR said we need another TE. That makes some sense too. And I think that we can get that in the later rounds. I don't think that there's a really good tight end out there. There's some guys you can reach
Pause.
for. The kid, oh, that's really bad. The kid from Virginia Tech is decent. There was a kid from
Wisconsin.
UCF,
It's a kid out there in
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Right.
It's a couple of
But
them out
it
there. Now,
but what kind of tight end are we looking for though? Are we looking for a guy to complement Andrews, or are we looking for a blocking guy just for depth? Because
we're looking
what
for a
Andrews
threat.
are looking for a threat. So if you want a threat there, Andrews really doesn't play that traditional tight end spot. He kind of plays a little bit of the H back and plays offset in the slot. So he's not really that guy, which is why we're going back to the guy I previously mentioned. Nick Boyle plays that position for us right there. So turn on my endo mode.
They always taking jabs at me, bruh.
So I mean, Nick Boyle really plays that block and roll from a tight end perspective. He plays that H back. He sometimes lines up in the backfield. We run that try
Who?
pistol look. Boyle. So you'll
Stop it, bruh.
see.
Stop it, bruh.
But
Stop
listen,
it,
I'm just
bruh.
talking about what the
Stop,
setup
bruh.
is, right? Listen, you'll have Ricard in there, you have Boyle in there, you'll have a running back behind Lamar in that three try pistol look, and you'll have Andrews in the 31 look personnel off to the side in the tight end kind of slot. So it all depends on what comes up on the offensive line. I mean, and play calling and what they want to see. If you draft another tight end, that's a so-called threat. Is he going to get what? 5 to 10 targets a game, maybe on the high side, 5 targets a game on the high side. We talk about market target share. People talk about Lamar threw the ball too much, didn't throw the ball enough. He got 3 games last year where he threw the ball 40 times. Drafting a tight end in the second round says that you're going to put this
Oh
guy on
no,
the
no,
field.
no,
Is he going to play?
no.
So if we get tight end depth, this is going to be way later in the round. So I just don't see that being a move when you got an all pro guy and you want to make Hollywood Brown relevant, and you got Bateman. I just don't see a tight end coming in that's going to catch passes like that. Really makes sense for the Ravens. That's the one thing I can
But
say.
we don't need him to be a superstar tight end. We just need him to roll coverage from time to time, knowing that there's a threat out there. Instead of having Ricard out there, knowing if we do throw the Ricard, it's going to be 2 yards out in the flat, behind line, something stupid. We need somebody that they can say, you know what, we don't know what this formation is dictating. That's what we need. Now, we of course we're not going to get a tight end in the first 3 rounds, but
No,
you speak to, as most Ravens fans speak to, when it comes to offense, we need to wait till the later rounds to pick up a person. But when it
no,
comes to
not this year.
defense, we can draft them. We can draft them anywhere. Just as the most
That's
Ravens fan, we can draft defense anywhere. We've done it. We've collected all through free agency, but we can draft defense every pick. But we can wait on offense and then wonder why. But throughout the season, oh, this offensive line is the worst. It is the worst. We need to get somebody to replace him. As soon as that last game is over, man, did you see that safety? Even though we just signed a $70 million safety, did you see that safety? If he falls to us, man, we sure need to trade up and scoop him.
right,
Make
right,
make
right.
make it make sense. Okay, Rodney. I don't need anyone to submit to me. It's not that serious, bro. You know, I don't. I'm good. Like, I'm just gonna win my championship in silence. Your preseason, your preseason number one is here. Listen, if you go look at the rankings, preseason number one, You gonna see me with that belt? Don't worry, Bronny. I got you, B. I got you.
I think last time me and you was in the fantasy league, T, I think that I ran away with that, if I'm not mistaken, way back in the day
You did
with
way back.
Brady.
No,
Wait, no, bro, I had Brady,
you did
Moss,
not.
and Antonio Peterson that year, and I ran away with
And
it. I remember that.
I gotta ask my brother about that. I don't think
Oh,
you won
talk
that
to
one,
him.
bro.
Oh, talk to him. Oh, talk to him.
I
He'll
don't
remember.
think you won.
He'll
I
remember.
don't think you.
He'll remember. That was '07. I remember that year. I remember that year.
It was a long
Long
time
time
ago,
ago.
bro.
Long time ago.
Back in the day. All right, now let's move on to something that you and Ravens fans seem to be extremely passionate about.
I'm not passionate about it at all. I just want to talk about it. I know what's going to happen, but let's talk about it.
Oh, what's gonna happen?
So Deebo Samuel, right? We talk about a guy we've all seen we've all seen that that the kid is dynamic. He does things out of the backfield. Does he want to be wide back? Does he want to play the wide back pause? Does he not want to play the wide? Whatever. What does he want to do? Is it true? Are these rumors true? What is it that Deebo wants? Is it money? Is it really a contract negotiation issue? All in all, what I want to talk about is the talent of Deebo Samuel because I've heard some things about how he's not a traditional receiver, how he can't get open, blah blah blah. Like the kid don't run good routes. He only getting the ball like that because he fast. It's the most BS I've ever heard in my life. San
Right.
Francisco runs a kind of like a I wouldn't say run and shoot type of offense because they use their wide receivers a little bit more, but it has some of that little feel to it with shotgun schemes in it. But Debo runs a lot of the same kind of routes that Andrew just does, like the seam routes, the dig routes. The most you'll see on the outside, because he plays the X also, he'll run like the whip out from like 7 to 8 yards, something like that. But he does get open. He can separate from people. He is a great wide receiver. He was a wide
Oh, he did
receiver
it.
first,
He did that in the Dallas game. Oh, you saw that in
right.
the Dallas game.
Right. I
Most
mean,
definitely.
we take away like outside of his receptions. I mean, his A dot, which is average depth of target. He was nowhere near the top. In the top 10. Justin Jefferson being the best. For air yards, intended air yards, he'll never be that, and he'll because that'll be skewed based off of the way that San Francisco was using him. All right. So when you talk about Deebo Samuel and his being so dynamic and what San Francisco said, we need to be offensively explosive. We got a guy out here who we can get the ball in their hands and he can win games. And Deebo almost made it to the Super Bowl with all of this gadget stuff by himself with the hurt Jimmy G in the show or the hurt Jimmy G who couldn't get the ball down the field. And this kid was absolutely out of sight through the whole playoffs. So for these San Francisco fans that feel like that he's expendable, he is your offense. He is the franchise right now. There is no other player that has the same starlight that Deebo Samuel has, and we need to stop playing. The kid's not going anywhere. They're gonna pay him whatever it costs to keep him. They're not stupid. And for my Ravens fans that think that we should trade for him, T, I will take this question to you because I know you want to talk about it. What do you think it takes to get a Deebo Samuel in the Ravens purple?
A new general manager and a new head coach. Plain and simple. That's all it would take. Somebody with some real common sense. Did you hear what happened with him and AJ Brown today?
They both took that. I know AJ Brown took down his stuff on Instagram too for his team, but no,
So,
anything that. What else happened?
apparently, Deebo Samuel's aunt was on Instagram, Facebook Live, or something. But at the time, AJ and Deebo were talking about the contract situation, and they got it on there talking about Tennessee offered AJ 20 mil a year, and he was like, "That's not enough. I need more."
Wow,
So yeah,
wow.
they
I
want to
mean,
be top paid.
listen, man. DeAndre Hopkins' contract has messed everything up. That's messed everything up. And so these guys,
What's
you
going
talk
on,
about
Ty?
one thing that you got to understand about Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown, they don't have a 5th-year option. They were second round picks. So they're
Right.
not in the same position that we are with Hollywood Brown. He's only making $3 million this year. His contract goes up to 13 next year if we decide to keep him at that, which we probably will because it would be a bargain. I don't think he wants to play at that price,
They got
but
what they got till May 6th. They got a May 6th
something like
to
that.
put
May
that.
6 in order to pick up his 50-year option. So with Deebo and AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, these guys don't have that 50-year option where they have the opportunity to make a lot more money. They're coming up for contract next year. They're going to be free agents. So you either going to tag them at the average of the top 5 wide receivers paid the next year, which I honestly think all 3 are worth. Maybe DK doesn't get it. They probably trade him because I don't think the Seattle's in a position to keep that type of production up, and they know they could get more for him if they trade him away. But the Titans in San Francisco are in win now mode. They're going to need those guys. They're going to have to find a way to get them the type of contract that's feasible to them to get paid and feasible to the team to be successful from a money market perspective going forward. So that's why I just don't see AJ Brown's not going anywhere. Deebo Samuel's not going anywhere. These are two. I mean, outside of Derrick Henry, AJ Brown is the next best offensive player on the team, without question. Deebo Samuels is the best offensive player on San Francisco. Now, a lot of what he did in his success was based off of the great offensive line that they had, hint, hint, offensive line that they had, and how they were able to get out close in space and stuff like that. But if anything, the NFL is more likely to get these guys signed and get them a decent number because you got Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson coming up in 2 years. So what's feasible for them? 30 mil a year? 34 million a year? How high do we go?
Probably.
You understand what I'm saying? So we need to get these guys to a number. And again, fans, you have to understand that it's in the best team's interest to pay a guy up front and get him that type of money because it helps your salary cap and you can be able to bend and move that money so that you're able to get more players while you're paying your best guy. Okay, so that's something that we need to keep in mind. But Deebo Samuel will be in San Francisco 49, a gold and red, probably for the remainder of his career if they're smart.
All right. So we got 39 people in here. So if you could hit that like button. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. We are channeling live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And we're about to wrap it up. But for the last section, we are going to hit this extra innings and talk about anything that anybody wants to talk about. Any questions you may have. Anything you want to talk about, Staxx?
Let's see what we got in chat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, Jay, the difference between the Kill Harry and Deebo Samuel is that Deebo Samuel's good at football.
And Nikhil Harry is just a guy.
He's not.
He's just another
He's
guy.
not. He's just a guy.
Okay, look, OTR.
Scary
Listen.
Terry, definitely getting to the bag. 3rd round pick.
If you feel like you having an issue with Scary Terry, just trade him to me. If you don't think things are gonna work out over there, trade him to me. I got him. What you want? What you want for that pick, bro? Oh, okay.
What we got
now? Oh, do you think we're wearing JC Tretter?
Tretter,
no.
Tretter. No. I think he costs too much. I think he costs.
Oh no, he's not. He's the head of the NFLPA, bro. He's the president. So John Harbaugh has an issue with them people snitching on him because of his practices. So we will not land Tretter. That's why we need to draft a center because Makari ain't it at all. Who's your top QB? Malik.
You want me? Definitely
Malik.
When we're talking about ceiling output.
If Carolina don't blow it, Carolina might, they might get Sauce Gardner. So
I find it hard. I will find it hard to believe if Malik Willis goes past 8. I would be shocked if Atlanta doesn't take him. If he gets past Carolina and Atlanta doesn't take he's from Georgia. The only reason why you see Malik Willis at Liberty is because Bo Nix was the quarterback at Auburn for 4 years, right? Well, Bo Nix is a legacy. His father won a national championship at Auburn. So you say, listen, I won a national championship. I'm one of the biggest boosters in football. My son going to play quarterback for you. You understand what I'm saying? So Malik Willis probably would have been at Auburn, and he probably would have been a better name, but he went down to Liberty. But they played some decent teams, too. They played some guys that got some NFL talent. I mean, the kid's arm is live.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Like, it's not hard. All you have to do is look for a team need and find a player that fits. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Brandon Williams 2.0, we don't need him. We signed Michael Pierce, but yeah, that's something else. That's something else. Who going to trade up to grab Willis? Pittsburgh? I hope not.
That would be something so. I mean, you talk about what we do in the draft and how we do it over, done it over the years. That would be like, you know, Jesus coming back and Pittsburgh traded from 20 to 6 all the way to go get a quarterback. I don't think that means, I don't think that means. I would love to see it, Marcus, because you my guy. But ultimately,
Right.
I don't think he falls past 8,
Oh, he's talking
and
about
he's
Carolina.
from he, you know, yeah. If
Oh,
it
hold
if
up. Hold up. This one is about you. This one's about your boy. And
oh
everybody knows how I feel about Florida wide receivers. I don't trust a
okay.
Florida wide receiver at all.
Okay. So this is a really good question. So Keelan, Ravens fans saying they should go after Kadarius Toney from the Giants instead of Deebo or DK because he would be cheaper than them. Ravens fans so conditioned to want average players on offense. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Now, Kadarius Toney, great route runner. You can go on Twitter whenever you want and look up any tape from that Dallas game. And I feel like the Giants hid him the rest of the season because his ability to separate playing at outside receiver, that's not something that they thought that they had in him. And, he cut Diggs up pretty bad that game and every other corner that they had. He was about the only Giants highlight outside of a few Saquon Barkley from that year. But he's a really great route runner, really shifty, really, really quick, more sudden than smooth, able to jump in and out of cuts, make moves. You can put him as like a gadget player behind the offensive line. You can get him the ball in space. You can scheme him in space. I don't think that the New York Giants have the structural fortitude from a mental perspective to actually get him the ball in that capacity. It remains to be seen. But Kadarius Toney essentially would be trying to take Hollywood Brown again, and I don't think that makes some sense. If they're essentially the same kind of player, and unless you're talking about because you're going to have to get them a
What?
first round pick for them, they're essentially the
What?
same kind of guy. I'm trying to tell you, T. I'm trying to tell you, they're
So
essentially the
so
same
because
guy.
so because he beat up on Diggs, which everybody else in the league did, in that one game, like bro, come on, man,
T,
you
this
got
is
to do
supposed to be
better.
a non-biased show, and your disdain for Florida quarterbacks is so highly noted that everybody
No,
knows how you feel about this kid. But he can
oh,
play, man. He can play.
do I have to pull up his stats?
He didn't. He was hurt most of the
Uh,
season, T.
oh,
Okay,
oh,
let's pull up.
so that makes,
Okay,
but
pull
I
up.
mean that I'm not even worried about it
If
because I know he had less than 500 yards. I guarantee. I don't know anything about this kid, and I guarantee
he,
you he had less than 500
he,
yards.
he probably had less than 200, but in one game, um, in the one game that I'm talking about with Dallas, I want to say he had upwards of 130 in this game, and he had a really, really decent game because the Giants had a lot of wide receiver injuries last year. Slayton was hurt a lot. Shepard was hurt a lot. Kenny
Oh,
Galladay really didn't play. They were stitching stuff together, and when this kid got on the field, he really played pretty decently. So I think he has talent. I just he had an
I
ankle
hate.
coming out this year. So, well, it remains to be seen. I don't think the Ravens give up. They're going to have to give up a first round pick in order to take
Listen,
them. And I don't think
li-
you do that.
listen. I hate to say this, and I hate to do this to myself because I get on people when they do it. But James Prochet had 7 catches for 74 yards in a game. What are you saying, bro? Everybody has a game. These are professionals. These are professionals, man. Come on, son. Come on.
Oh,
Ooh,
man.
ouch. Ouch, Mr. J.
Mr. J is making some
Uh
sense. Dude's making some good points. He's making some
no,
good
he's
points.
not. Listen, so what you don't
He's
know
making some good points.
what you don't know is in the LBHT crew, they are Carolina Panthers and Baltimore Ravens fans. 95% Baltimore Ravens, but he's a part of the sector that goes with Carolina. So we kind of go back and forth on the moves that are being made. Don't, Mr. J, don't act like Carolina. When y'all get Baker Mayfield, we can talk after that. We can talk after y'all get Baker Mayfield.
Hopefully, Carolina got their quarterbacks reading both sides of the field this year. Because Cam could only read one side for at least the first 5 years of his career. It's tough to run a flood concept in every place, so everybody to be on the right when you want to throw the ball. But we ain't gonna get into that.
Hey, Chris, you and your whole family root for OSU?
No, but we don't give a damn for the whole. No, I'm just joking, man. I mean, look, man. I feel like I've been in Twitter Spaces all week, bro, and they've been talking about Chris Olave. They've been talking about Garrett Wilson, and we both can agree that Smith and Jigba is better than both of them, but we haven't gotten there yet. We'll wait till next year's draft to talk about him. But when we talk about Chris Olave and we talk about Garrett Wilson, I mean, they're both dynamic receivers. They both do a lot well. They both have their struggles also, and this is only the conversation that I've been having because I've been starting to get some people's eyes open to the fact that maybe we need to go offense in in the first round. Maybe we need to take a receiver to help Lamar out and be a little bit more dangerous on the offensive side. Just a thought, if it's a line, like I said, this is all based off of what falls to us on the board, and that
Right.
goes to the point where if we're going to pick somebody above the Mason Dixon of the NFL teams above 14, he needs to have an immediate impact. And what not better way to do it than to get a wide receiver? It's already been proven on many accounts that that's the way that the NFL has gone, and these kids are showing off. It's been wide receiver Nirvana for at least 3 years now, and ain't been that many busts. It's been some really, really good kids
And
outside of
no
Jalen
doubt.
Rager. Jalen Rager is probably the only one that really hasn't showed off. But then again, the Eagles' offensive scheme is so out of whack these days. Who knows what it is they really want to do?
Oh no, it's Rager. It's Rager. But look at that right there. How many yards did it say he had?
He had 420 yards in 10 games with 0 touchdowns.
So
It,
so without me seeing this kid play one game or checking any stats, how did I know he had under 500 yards, Chris?
well,
Because he
that's
went to the
because
University of Florida. Because he went to the University of Florida. That's how I knew. I didn't have to do any research. He's a wide receiver coming out of Florida. They don't hit, bruh. And you can say Percy Harvin, but he was more like a Deebo Samuel. He was not a really good receiver.
let me
Stop
ask
it,
you this
bruh.
question, T. Who is the Giants' offensive coordinator? Who was
Man,
our
I don't
Giants'
know.
offensive coordinator last year?
I don't know.
You don't
It
know.
doesn't matter.
Who
It
was the
doesn't matter.
leading Giants receiver last year?
Jeremy Shockey? I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know. Who had a worse offensive line than us last year?
The Baltimore Ravens.
That's what I'm. Who had a worse offensive line? Yo, Daniel Jones has a type of neck injury where if he get hit one more time, he might not be able to play no more, and it's their
First of
fault.
all, first of all, his name is Danny Dimes. I don't believe anything you're saying. His name is Danny Dimes. They call him that for a reason.
Because he worth about 10 cents. That's probably why. There we go. Tony
But
had
let's
189 in one game, and that was almost Prochet's whole career. That's tough, Rodney. I want to know what side you on. That hurt me just now, but it's so true. I knew it was a good game against Dallas, man, because he was all they had that game. They had locked up Saquon and he couldn't do anything. And Tony showed out, man. He had a really, really good game, and they were forcing him the ball. And Mike Glennon was the quarterback.
bang bang. Like Mr. J, like why? Why do these shots keep coming? Why, bruh? Like why? Like, come on, man. We already know EDC is not worried about the offense. You let the black quarterback run around and take care of the rest himself.
The Ravens
Throw the
really
ball.
it's just the Ravens historically haven't been a team that actually put that type of capital into their offense, even from the
Because we won
infancy
with
of the team.
defense.
As
Because we
we a
won
run
with
first
defense.
defensive team, and so our fans have been conditioned to actually roll with that roll with that and say like that's why when the draft board comes out, the first thing we go, oh, we got to go edge rush, or we got to go corner, or we got to go linebacker. Like that's always the first thing that we go through is defense. But nobody thinks that hey, if we score 40 a game, we might not have to stop people the way we have been. If we had dangerous on offense, why isn't that the thought process, right? Because that when we talk about the Bengals, and I keep going back with them, he said 77 receptions. Well, I will get to that. Keep that comment right there. I got something for that. So, and we talk about being conditioned to see, like you take the Bengals into account, they said it. Like when we was going into this draft, we were saying, how can we get to teams so where they can't scheme against us to stop us with one-on-one coverage. They can't come in and they can't take away our offense away. How can we make Joe Burrow that more dangerous from a play to pay perspective where you don't know who you can get? And then what happens, Ravens fans? He gets 1,000 yards almost of offense just in 2 games against us because we can't stop Higgins. Osama got a contract off of those 2 games, and Jamar Chase actually went nut. Now the first game was all one play, but they cut us up, man. And it's talking about being able to get line up, be on offense, and actually be dangerous enough to put up points when you need to. And I
Or
think
was it the fact what? Or was it the fact that we couldn't sustain drives because playing Cincinnati during the first half, we were actually close and leading.
we
So
were closing the lead.
let's not say the defense, bro. It's because the offense couldn't hold up and sustain drives. No,
But
let's not push that defensive narrative.
as Broadly stated, break the cycle, make the fan
Yes,
base excited, get us to a point where we start to jump up and down about a player that comes in and makes an immediate impact from an offensive perspective. We got Lamar Jackson, we got our quarterback, we have one wide receiver, we have another wide receiver. Why not a third one? Why is too much too much? Why is too many
for
guys on the
offense.
offense too much? Why not spend that capital? And again, I ultimately think that we trade out of 14. If those players aren't there, I'd be shocked to see us just based off of what we've done from past drafts. I don't think that we stay at 14. I think that trading back makes a lot of sense from what the Ravens usually do. But ultimately, if we're going to take a guy, I'd rather see impact on the offensive side versus the defense, especially if the people who are if we get a George Karlaftis or if we take that center, everybody would be sitting in their draft parties talking about who, what, and it would be the same whole hum situation. Get me gigged up about my Ravens again, man. Get me gigged up. Take a guy that's going to piss some people off and say, oh my God, we're going to be the next best thing. Get the NFL scared about what we have from a player perspective when you go and you got to line up against us. And it ain't just because 8 can run around a whole lot. Come on,
We
T.
talked. Listen, we look. Your boy, get your boy, get your man, because we talked about this. Get your man. No, we
Kyle
don't take
Hamilton.
him.
No,
No,
but
we
I
don't
would love
take
to
him.
take him. We just paid a
No,
safety man to play center field. I don't think that we make that move if he's there. I'd
I
be
mean,
surprised if he gets past the Commanders at 11. I don't think he gets
no, he
past
might slide. He
Washington.
might slide. I think he slides. But I'm gonna tell you, like somebody told me the other day, we have Chuck Clark. What do we need Hamilton for? We have Chuck freaking Clark. You know he had 2 interceptions in one game. What would we need Hamilton for? Like, come on,
Oh
bro.
boy, the secondary was so it just was bad. We had guys that should not have been on the field playing and starting for the Baltimore Ravens last year, and I don't think people understand that. Which I think they can even go to where we went for two a whole lot last year, where we probably wouldn't have. And I just don't feel as though that when you really think about it, man, last year was a wash and we just need to throw it away. And people need to stop. It's not like coming into, you know, that leave that comment. Don't send that, don't leave that comment right there. Leave that comment. I'm gonna talk about
Last
that
year was
later.
not a wash. Last year was not a wash, bro. Good coaches overcome injuries. Good organizations overcome injuries. We can't keep using that as an excuse.
Right.
Oh,
Sorry about that, brother. Had a little
we
hit
good.
the button. So
We good. You
Flacco
got it.
also had Derek Mason and Anquan Bolden, who the Ravens gave up a third and fourth round to get for 2 seasons, then got TJ Huzmanzada and replaced him with Steve Smith and Jones. So Keelan, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And as a Ravens fan, we lead the NFL over the history of the NFL of getting guys past their prime and expecting greatness from them over a sustained amount of time. Okay. Anquan Bolden, we should have got the first time that he came up from Arizona. TJ Huzmanzada was past his prime. Steve Smith was
Well
past
past.
his prime. Derek
Still the
Mason
best
was
receiver.
probably still the best receiver on the team. And that says something about the organization and their misses on the offensive side. That you've just given me the ammo that I needed to prove that we not only have we drafted not well on the offensive side up until now, we finally started to get some guys, started to value the wide receiver position a lot more, where our guys who are in the lights as the top receivers in the history of football are guys that have been past their prime that we kind of milked to a point, and I mean we got the last little bit out of them. Steve Smith came off of ACL just to play with us, and we didn't think it feasible to go get somebody else. We said no, we get Steve Smith back. We gonna be
Who
good. We
who
get
was your
Steve
coach?
Smith back.
Who was your coach?
John
Who was
Harbaugh.
your coach? Nah, I'm
John
just asking, who
Harbaugh
was your
was the
coach?
coach.
Yeah. All these same issues. We're still having the same issues we were having in 2015, 2013. The same issues because we got the same person leading the charge. Now, John Harbaugh has more power than EDC. And I hate to blame EDC for a lot of stuff because John Harbaugh in the background is like, yo, pick him. We drafted a fullback in the 5th round and brought him back this year. We brought him back and then re-signed your boy Pat Ricard. Like, until we change this leadership, nothing's going to change. Like, we're going to be this same run-of-the-mill team. And I'm getting a little frustrated with these fans saying, hey, we contend for a Super Bowl every year. We've not. When is the last time we've contended for a Super Bowl? When is the last time we sniffed the AFC Championship game? Because just making it to the playoffs and being one and done, that is not contention.
Uh, best fullback room in the league, though. That's a good one.
You're not
That's a
lying.
good one,
I
man.
mean, you're
But
not lying.
that shit, it ain't but how many, just what, 5 teams with fullbacks on them? Maybe that might be a little
Exactly.
hot,
And we
You
still
know?
gave this man $11 million. What?
Right,
What? Oh, what's going
right.
on, Ryan? What's going
What's up,
on?
Ryan?
Nice to see you.
Good, bro. Ryan, I'm gonna go out on a limb, Ryan, and I'm gonna say with the most confidence that I've ever said, scouts on a hand to the man, that the Packers will draft a first round wide receiver this year.
I told him that yesterday.
It's gonna
Unless
happen, bro.
they see a linebacker that they want.
Or
Unless it's
another
some
quarterback
linebacker.
that ain't gonna play for another 7 years or something like that. A one is
Facts.
still a number one. I mean, well, what defines a number one receiver though? Like, what are
No,
we really talking about?
he's talking about fullback. He's talking about
Oh,
Ricard
fullback.
being
Number
the
one
number
is
one
number one. Oh,
fullback.
okay. Okay. I mean, hey, shoot. Well, shoot, that could be argued because check. He's still out there. Hey, where he
I
come
think
from?
I think Juszczyk is number one.
I mean, at least he get the ball passed to him. He making 7 million, and they actually giving him some. You see him in highlights from time to time. Pat Ricard
Yeah.
had one good game, one good game where they gave him the ball. He made a play. I mean, at least we're not having him playing defensive tackle this year. I don't want to see that story no more, unless it was by necessity. But hopefully, man. Talking about Torrey Smith won a Super Bowl with 2 veteran receivers. Bolden. And what did we do with Torrey Smith? We let him go to another team, and I felt as
No,
though that we should have kept Torrey Smith.
false. That is false, sir. We didn't let him go. We offered Torrey Smith the same contract that San Francisco did. Now, I don't understand because with California taxes, he actually made less money.
He
He
did.
just wanted
He
to get
did it.
he just wanted to get away from the Ravens. He wanted to get away from John Harbaugh and this system to try to shine.
I also
Look at
think that
Anquan.
you got to go ahead, T. I'm listening.
No, man. Look at Anquan Bolden. He never had a 1,000-yard year with us. He had 2 1,000-yard years right after he left us and went to San Francisco. Come on, bro. Nobody wants to play here because of your coach.
I don't think it's because it may be because of the coach. You can blame it on Harbaugh. And I'm not gonna sit here and try to take up for him because the same type of offensive coordinator woes we have and now where we keeping Greg Roman and this issue. How many offensive coordinators did he fire before? Like how many offensive coordinators did Joe Flacco have? And then when we finally got one, he had to go because he was going back home the way he was playing quarterback to Denver. So you can't argue with that. Kubiak. So like, I mean, come on, man. Bubba Boom going back.
And Ravens fans will cheer. They'll be like, yo, they went defense. We need a corner.
We be doing the bird flu all throughout the damn stadium when they have. Ravens don't have the
Yeah.
best interest for the great eight. We will see. We will see. We will see.
We don't have to see.
I
We've seen, bro. We've seen it. And you said yourself how many offensive coordinators do we have to go through? Now, they
Right.
all have different names, but they all wear the same face. They all run the same offense,
Mm-hmm.
and we keep having the same results. Now, lo and behold, woo, surprise, the 1 year that they forced him to get Kubiak, what happens? Joe Flacco has a career year. And theoretically that year, we should have beat the Patriots, but stuff happens.
The 11 team was better than the 12 team. I always tell people that team was way better than the team that won the Super Bowl the
Oh no, I'm
first
talking
time
about the one
around.
that we had. I'm talking about the one we had the 2 14-point lead in
Oh,
with Steve
that one
Smith.
you talking about with Steve Smith? Yeah, 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 yeah,
We
yeah,
had
yeah.
that. And what happens? Gary Kubiak leaves. Harbaugh brings in a friend that runs the same type offense. The problem I have with Harbaugh is with Joe Flacco and with Lamar, he doesn't bring in coordinators that kind of accentuate his quarterbacks. He makes them fit into a scheme. As we see with Joe and Lamar, when they get that up-tempo, fast-paced, hurry-up offense, we shine, just like the Indianapolis game. But what do they do afterwards? They say, oh, we scored too much. Slow it down.
Right.
Slow it down. So we got to start from the top, and your boy got to go. I don't know how many ways I can say your boy got to go.
I think that the Ravens extended Harbaugh because they just didn't want to hear the noise. I think that that it may be a short leash there. We all can agree that it's a short leash on Greg Roman. His name come up too much in Ravens fans circles for him to be there too. You know, uh, he said Ravens fans also drafted Orr in the first round. Yeah, and Ogden to replace and Kalechi. Yep, and we both let Kalechi go on free agency too when he got hot. We didn't decide to keep him.
Because he's on the offensive side.
Right, he's on offensive line. He decided he went to the Raiders and did nothing after he got there. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, we would run first team, man. That team was just built a little differently. Defense and Harbaugh made it his point to get rid of Ray Lewis and all his guys when he left. You know, said Ravens had not spent the first and second round pick on the offensive line since Lamar's been the starter. When did they get
Nope.
Stanley? Before Lamar? Year
That was the
before?
only one.
Yeah, year before. Yeah, you got well, Orlando Brown was a steal in the third. He should have been a first round pick. He just couldn't bench press. He just had a bad day at the combine, but he should have been a first round pick.
Should
He was a
should he
steal.
have been? Should he have been?
He
Or
should have
did
been a
Lamar
first
make him
round
look
pick.
or did Lamar make him look better than he really was? Because
I think
I don't see Kansas City rushing to sign that dude to a contract.
no, but he
I think
franchised
after
right
this year
now.
for 1 year because they're going to look for somebody to replace him.
Maybe, or maybe they just don't want to pay him that type of money. I mean, you know what they just had to go through with Tyreek Hill. They definitely need a wide receiver help. I'm not making excuses for him, but far as
So
I'm
that means they have the
concerned,
money. So they have the
um,
money now because they didn't sign Tyreek. So they could sign him, right?
maybe, but a lot of teams going to stop 2-3 weeks before the draft. To you, like you're not going to see
Bruh.
nobody get signed no time soon until after the draft. So we'll see. We'll see.
But we're talking about a left tackle, bro. We're not just talking about some guard or center. We're talking about one of the most important positions on the field. And you're saying, I don't believe in you. You need another prove it deal on this franchise tag. That's why we let him go so easily. Like he was under contract. If we really valued him that much, we'd have let him play out his contract, franchise him, and traded him then.
And it's definitely, I agree with you there. We traded him to a team we knew he was going to have to play. But he played pretty well for Kansas City last year. Was he all world? No. He got beat up a lot in the playoffs last year because I was in Hendrickson. Woo, that was pretty. That
Wore him
woo,
out.
beat him like a 4-year-old Kmart. So it was bad. But every tackle has that day. Every guy has that day. We got anything else, T? What you got for me? I ain't even get to I had my corn highs and notes here. I was ready to go, man. I was going to look down, look at my notes like
Nah,
this to
that's
get to reading.
that's pretty much going to be it for this episode. Anything else you want to let them know before we go?
Ravens fans, usually I try to preach patience, but I will be remiss to say that I'm looking for a splash this year. I'm looking for somebody that's going to come in and make immediate impact, especially if we're going to decide to take somebody at 14. And that's the only way that statement holds up. But I think traditionally, what we're going to see is that we probably trade back and we don't take anybody out there. So we'll see.
All right. So for me, all I have to say is this is going to be the last live show before the draft. And if you join me next week, I will be with the Lunch Break Hot Take crew as we go through the first round of the draft. Join us there. It's going to be live. We're going to have some fun. Anything else, Mr. Chris?
Nah, man, T, as always, I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the next time. Definitely had big fun. Appreciate the comments and the rebuttals in the chat. You guys
What's
were
up, Ed?
phenomenal. Y'all kept me on my toes today, and don't mind being wrong. And just like Jay said, none of this shit matter because we're gonna pick defense on Thursday anyway. So appreciate you, T.
Appreciate you as well. Thank you for coming on. All right,
All
y'all.
right,
Till
bro.
next time.